On our Tuesday episode of Locked On Raptors, I went on vacation and came back, and Kawhi Leonard's still not a Raptor, and apparently Steve Ballmer is completely innocent.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors. It is Tuesday, August the 18th, and I'm your host, your pal, Sean Woodley, back from vacation, and Kawhi Leonard is still not officially a member of the Toronto Raptors. Day 40 of waiting for this trade to go through or not. And that is what we're going to talk about today on the show, of course, as there's some new stuff that came out yesterday from ESPN last week. Pablo Torre had some new stuff as well regarding emails with @clippers.com included. So much redacted. So much, please do some work for Daktronics, Kawhi. Please, please, please. Look, we're going to try to sort through the chaos of yesterday when it comes to the ESPN report about Steve Ballmer there being no evidence to prove that he funneled money to Kawhi Leonard to achieve salary cap circumvention. The NBA's rebuttal post saying there's a lot of inaccuracies in that story. You'll find out what is all true when the investigation concludes. It's a big old mess, as it has been for more than a month now. And here to sort through the wreckage and just kind of get a temperature check on how we feel about this trade as it stands is our dear pal, Vivek Jacob. Big V, how the hell are you, my friend? Are you having fun? This continues to just be an uplifting, thrilling story about rich people doing rich people things that, has left me feeling quite jaded. I don't know about you.
It's getting there. It's getting there
Yeah.
for sure. Thankfully, I have, we got tennis going on. We've got some hype for the start of the new EPL season. So I got plenty of stuff to distract me. But yeah, this is still going on. Day 40 days and 40 nights of Kawhi, but no Kawhi. And yeah, we'll see. We might still have, maybe another month to go before, they get this actually sorted.
Yeah, well, let's get into big takeaways from the ESPN report from yesterday, featuring Arona Shelburne and Donovan Nada Jr. and Baxter Holmes. Again, a report that the NBA quickly put out a rebuttal to and said there's a lot of inaccuracies loaded in there. But the crux of it, essentially, is it seems as though they're past the investigation phase. They're in the negotiation of penalties phase, which is very funny considering it's an internal investigation. Always has kind of been a sham investigation because of that fact that Wachtell Lipton was hired by the NBA to conduct the investigation against one of the owners who was Adam Silver's boss. It was never going to be a clean and totally objective investigation. They're now on to the negotiation of penalties, and the report from ESPN again is that Steve Ballmer has been, acquitted of the notion that he funneled money specifically to Kawhi Leonard in the interest of salary cap circumvention. They're still investigating and digging into some other stuff and sorting through penalties regarding not properly supervising employees when it comes to the players and endorsements. Obviously, the endorsements with Aspiration, Daktronics on down the line. Boingo Wireless, I think was one in there as well. My favorite piece or line from the piece yesterday is just, quote, "A spokesperson for Boingo did not respond to a request for comment." Just good stuff. I don't know. What were your broad takeaways from this, Big V? For me, it feels like the investigation's getting close. It seems like Steve Ballmer is going to walk, and by extension, it seems like Kawhi Leonard might walk as well. And if anyone gets punished here, it's going to be lower-level Clippers employees and probably Uncle Dennis and Mitch Frankel getting the death penalty and never allowed to work in the NBA doing professional NBA business again. That's kind of where it feels like it's headed to me. But I don't know. There are also bigger, grander societal implications, I think, to billionaire gets to walk free that we can get into if you want. I don't know, man. How are you feeling about all this after in the wake of the thing from ESPN yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, overall, in this situation, I did reach out to a few lawyers to figure out what this process looks like, how it could play out, and all of that. And they kind of pointed me in this direction a while back, which is what I wrote about at Raptors in 7, that, Steve Ballmer is going to be the biggest domino in all of this, and the fact that they will look to maintain a healthy relationship with him, and they recognize his importance to the league, and he has the resources to drag this out as long as he wants to. And so the fact that it's come out in the reporting that he and the Clippers are looking for a complete innocence out of this, I think the thing that is being forgotten in all of this is the CBA language, what is considered evidence. And so if you look at that subsection, it does say direct or circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't appear that Adam Silver and the league is considering circumstantial evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
It looks like they want cold, hard evidence. And so if that's going to be the case, then it's going to be very difficult to prove and punish at the level that maybe some people want to see. And so I could see a scenario. You've obviously pointed out how Uncle Dennis, Mitch Frankel could come out looking as the fall guys, and receive maybe the harshest punishment as far as optics are concerned. I could see the CBA language changing at the next go around around this. And, on the one hand, if Adam Silver does let Ballmer and the Clippers off lightly on this, then he's kind of opening up Pandora's box for the other owners who want to spend. And they'll say, okay, well, we've got a bunch of people we'd like to introduce you to, and we will leave it to you from there. And it could fundamentally change player negotiations moving forward, whether it's pre-agency or free agency. And so I think that's what's on the one hand. And then on the other hand, if there is some kind of punishment that Ballmer doesn't agree to, that's going to end up looking worse for the league. But, on some level, from a justice being served perspective, this is what you want to see in terms of saying, hey, this is a line that can't be crossed. It's in terms of, the significance of violating this aspect of the CBA. It's like it's gambling and then this, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to know that there's sort of a level playing field. And if you can violate that, then like I said, it's going to turn into the Wild Wild West in terms of player negotiations.
Yeah, it's again, this is the sort of grander implication of all of this is just like the continued allowance of the billionaire class to do whatever the hell they want, and the NBA is very clearly uninterested in impeding that, right? And you mentioned the circumstantial evidence stuff, like that is where everything that Pablo Torre has uncovered over the last 11 months that he's been doing his investigations and like doing brilliant journalism over there, all of it has been circumstantial. And so one of my big takeaways from this is I worry Pablo Torre is going to have an aneurysm because he's done all this work, and it seems like he's the only one who actually cares about what he's reported in this whole saga, because the NBA is, again, looking for that smoking gun that they're just not going to find, because turns out billionaires are pretty good at covering up their misdeeds, and you're not going to get a piece of paper or an email from Steve Ballmer to Aspiration or to Daktronics saying, hello, sirs. Steve Ballmer, just circling back on that cap circumvention we were doing. Can we execute that now, please? Like, you're just not going to get it. And so if Adam Silver is cool to, and I think he kind of alluded to this very early on in the process too, of like, we're not just going to sort of throw down harsh punishments for stuff that might be implied. We need to have like actual tangible proof. So maybe we've kind of been headed towards this all along. I don't know anyone who's really believed that Steve Ballmer is going to get like the franchise death penalty or get banned from the league or get a year-long suspension or whatever all the possible outcomes could be here, just because that doesn't happen to the richest men alive. We live in this world where that just doesn't happen to any of the richest men alive anywhere. One guy went to prison for the financial crisis in 2008. Like, this is just how this goes. And if they found their patsy in Dennis Robertson or Mitch Frankel or both, and those guys get sent to basketball Siberia and never work in the league again, and that's the punishment that comes down as a warning to agents to not do this, then maybe that's what the NBA will live with and be fine with it. But you're totally right that it opens up all kinds of doors for the integrity of the sport to be challenged again and again and again. And look, I don't think there should be a salary cap. I think the billionaires have implemented the second apron as like a means by which to prevent them from spending more money. And there's a part of me that's like, you know what? It's kind of nails for Ballmer to be like, I think he voted against the apron system. I think the Clippers and Warriors were the only two teams to do it. And so there's an element of like, okay, you want to wield your financial power because all these cowards don't want to spend their money on the vanity project that is owning a sports team, but you do. Okay, I kind of respect it on a level, but yeah, certainly if you're going to have the salary cap and have these rules and teams are just free to break them, then yeah, you're going to open up the Wild West, and I'm not sure anyone's going to like where that ultimately heads. But maybe it doesn't matter because this is sports and these are sports crimes and they're not actual crimes. And I don't know, man. It's we'll get into this. I want to talk about sort of your feelings regarding Kawhi and the underhanded deals and whether that affects your eagerness to see him join the Raptors, which seems like it might be happening relatively soon based on the latest reporting regarding his contract being unlikely to be voided. We'll get to that coming up in just a second here. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. Whether you're refreshing one room, getting ready for a new season, or finally replacing that piece of furniture you've been putting off, Wayfair makes it easy to find something that fits your home, your style, and your budget. You can shop furniture and decor across a wide range of price points with quality materials and pieces designed to stand up to real life. And with a Wayfair verified, product specialists hand vet select products through a 10-point quality inspection, looking at things like materials, functionality, features, and even how long they take to build. And if you're still trying to narrow down that buy, Wayfair gives you plenty of real shopper feedback to work with, too. You can browse more than 20 million verified 5-star reviews, along with real customer photos and feedback to help you shop with more confidence. I hate building furniture. It stinks. I got to do it all the time. I'm the designated furniture builder in this house, and it's no fun. And if I could make it as easy as possible, I want to do that. Wayfair is the way for me to accomplish that. Join Wayfair Rewards today and get 5% back on every purchase and start saving on your next home upgrade. Head to wayfair.com to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Back at it here with Big V as we continue to talk about the Kawhi Leonard saga. It's so cool and enjoyable. We'll get back to some fun stuff this week, by the way. We're still operating under the assumption that Kawhi will join the Raptors, and that is informing all of my coverage of the team. By the way, it does feel like I think that, yeah, well, let's get to this. One of my takeaways coming out of this stuff from yesterday is I don't think there's any way this trade's not happening at this point. Like we've talked about it. It feels like the Raptors are too far down the road to balk at it. And if the Clippers are going to get off, there's no clear, definable issue with salary cap circumvention that's been found out here with hard evidence. I have a hard time seeing them also coming down on Kawhi with the sort of punishment that you'd like to see reserved for Steve Ballmer or for both, if you really, really are a stickler about these kinds of things. And it feels as though, I think it's reported in that ESPN piece, that if there is going to be some sort of penalty here, it'll be sort of just like a paying back of the uncouth earnings he picked up from these other sponsorships under the table. Doesn't seem like his contract's getting voided, which has always been the thing that would keep this trade from happening. Do you feel similar? Like, do you feel like we're just on the road to this happening? Does this give you some clarity, I suppose, regarding Kawhi eventually becoming a Toronto Raptor?
It gives me more confidence that the deal is happening. I think the anxiety of like when continues to increase. I think that's the one thing where, with Ballmer looking like he just wants complete innocence. I think that's.
I love this. Hey, we found some stuff that suggests you might have done crimes, but I don't want to be guilty at all. Just don't make me guilty.
I think that's a difficult point to meet at, right? And I think when you look at this situation, if the NBA was comfortable doing that, to an extent, we might have seen that happen already. And so if there's a bit of an impasse, if there's a bit of a disagreement on what the punishment should be, then when do we actually get to a point where, you know, you avoid arbitration? When do we, if you're not avoiding arbitration, then does Bobby just go ahead and do the deal?
Mhm.
I think all of that comes into play because now, yeah, you might have to take on greater risk, but at the same time, if it's if that's the stand that Ballmer is taking, then it's very hard to envision a scenario in which Kawhi's contract gets voided.
Mhm. Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah. I think if we're getting reporting about them being this deep in the phase of negotiation of penalties, like it, and I think even in the piece it alluded to, like it could come pretty soon, like the final results here. Like I don't know, Ballmer might litigate if they slap a penalty on him and he still wants full impunity and doesn't want to do anything to pay back what he's deemed to have sort of done wrong. I still think the Kawhi thing is separate from that. And so, if Kawhi's contract doesn't get voided, I just think flat out this trade happens pretty quickly once the results are released. And, I know there's like concern of, oh, but the team is like together in the summer and playing and Kawhi's not with them. I don't think that matters at all. Like, I think it's nice to think, oh, wouldn't it be lovely if the guys could, be kumbaya all summer and, play, runs in Paris together and have sleepovers and all this stuff and build chemistry. Yeah, sure. That'd be great. But like, not every team operates that way in the summer anyway. And Kawhi back in 2018-19 certainly wasn't hanging out with the team very much before he got to Toronto for media day. This, and I mean, I also go back to like the summer of 2022 or 2023, was it, when, the whole story of the summer was the Raptors are down in LA and they're kicking everyone's asses in Drew League and all these other runs with, Rico Hines and all of this. And then they came in and laid an egg and were terrible. And like, it didn't matter. And so I'm not worried about the sort of extending of this into the next month or so. If we get past media day and it hasn't happened, then yeah, sure, that's probably less ideal. But I also kind of think Kawhi Leonard's just going to pop into the team and be fine, and it's going to be pretty easy fit. And so I'm not like watching the clock and, oh God, they got to do this by September 1st or September 15th. If it's not done by media day, sure, freak out. But I think I'd be pretty surprised if it's not done by then at this point, considering what we know. Let's come back and we'll get into the sort of more morally interesting conversation on this and whether or not your excitement and eagerness to see Kawhi join the Raptors has been dampened by the latest revelations. And, again, the NBA might not care, but the circumstantial evidence uncovered by Pablo Torre suggests that, yeah, there was some wrongdoing here from all sides. And, we'll sort of parse that and get into whether it's like a fair stance to be morally opposed to Kawhi Leonard, Toronto Raptor. We'll do that coming up in just a second. Today's show is sponsored by Indeed Sponsored Jobs. When workplace chaos hits you and you need the right hire, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and locations. So less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now all the time. In the minute I'll be talking to you here, companies like yours will make 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. I've been a hiring manager before. It's a stressful gig, man. If you get it wrong, you set yourself back and you're just going to have to hire someone new sometime down the line. You want to get it right the first time, and Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your jobs in front of the people who are the right hires so they can see them, click through, apply, and then you're off and running with the right people in the door. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium job status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about it here on Locked On Raptors. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Back at it here with Big V, and we're going to talk about whether this Kawhi business makes us feel icky. Look, I in the past have, certainly there have been players who I've been perturbed by the Raptors potentially pursuing or employing because of unsavory stuff in their past. And I think it would be sort of disingenuous to not at least examine this one with Kawhi Leonard and whether or not it kind of clears the bar for me or anyone else who kind of thinks about these things as like a morally acceptable thing for the Toronto Raptors to do. Kawhi Leonard, say what you will, seems like there's some shady stuff that's gone on between him and the Clippers. I personally cannot get to the place where I think this is in any way like a moral failing by the Raptors to bring Kawhi Leonard in. I just kind of put crimes against the salary cap on a far different tier than like crimes against other people under the actual law, right? This is not trading for Miles Bridges. This is a completely different thing. And I understand that, you know, maybe there's an element here with Kawhi where the sort of the bloom is off the rose a little bit, and it feels a little bit less like this sort of triumphant storybook fairy tale return to the city he always loved the most. You know, chose Toronto to go back to because that's just where his heart was because of the championship he won here and the experiences he had over one season here. It seems like that's probably not the whole truth of it. I think he likes Toronto, certainly. I don't think he's mad to be back necessarily, but certainly he's a guy who didn't have a lot of options probably, and the Raptors are one of the teams that is willing to pay him money, and that might just be the crux of why he's coming back. Do I care about that? Not especially. I think at this point in 2026, when you look at like the global sports landscape, if you're going to enjoy sports, if you're going to watch teams, you're going to have to make your peace with some level of shadiness, because all of these enterprises are, I think, compromised at this point by capital, by the billionaire class, by enshittification, by all of this, right? It's inescapable. And if that, you know, dissuades you from wanting to watch sports, I cannot judge you for that at all. I totally get it. I think about this all the time. And I feel like a little bit of my soul is robbed every single time I sit down to watch, you know, the FIFA World Cup or, you know, any of these other sort of big sporting enterprises that are clearly sort of being changed by the immense capital being funneled into them and the people that are the most involved at the top. I don't think Kawhi's crimes, quote unquote, are of the level where I'm just like, no, can't have him on the team. He's too shady. It's not a good fit, you know, personality wise. I just, that doesn't get there for me. I think it's a false equivalence to say this is the same as like, again, Miles Bridges is the guy I'll point to because there's like actually proven crimes that guy has done who, you know, certainly if the Raptors were to trade for him, I'd be throwing a fit on this podcast. I think it's a different thing. But again, reasonable people can disagree. Where do you come down on this one, Big V?
Yeah, so obviously there's issues to be had with the way things have played out during his Clippers tenure. But I am curious to just see what it looks like with kind of a fresh start here in terms of moving on from Uncle Dennis, moving on from Mitch Frankel. You know, was he just someone who had bad advice for a very long time and just thought, okay, this is just what's normal. This is, you know, you're trusting these people to do what's best for you. I mean, obviously, we know about the dynamic of Uncle Dennis and his family and the way Uncle Dennis stepped in once Kawhi lost his father. So I think there's like a tricky aspect there that we can't really judge, you know, the level to which Kawhi just relied on him, right?
Sure. And we don't want to take Kawhi's agency away entirely and just say it was all Uncle Dennis either, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. Like at the end of the day, you know, I'm sure Kawhi was well aware of what was going on and sure on some level was like, well, if this is what I can get, then this is what I'll take.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And as, you know, I think as these players get into the top 1% of the players and build relationships with the top 1% of the financial world, you're trying to level up in every way possible. And this is probably how they saw a path to doing that, with Kawhi wanting to do maybe as little as possible, or, you know, Mitch Frankel and Uncle Dennis believing that he could do as little as possible. I think what makes me at least want to be curious and say, let's give him a fresh slate is the level of sort of investment that we've seen without the trade having even gone through. The fact that he showed up at Summer League, the fact that he showed up at Kyle Lowry's retirement announcement, the fact that he showed up at the National Bank Open.
Specifically for you.
Specifically for me. Let's not forget that. So, and I think there's aspects of it that seem genuine, to say, okay, maybe this is someone who's just like grown from these experiences and maybe has learned better. And now even on his social media, like you can see he's way more active. His
Any posts about Daktronics over there? I'm not following.
Not Daktronics, but he advertised going to Wuhan and sort of having a camp there, an opportunity there. He posted, being at the National Bank Open and interacting with Coco Gauff and whatnot. I was at the tennis match he was at, and he hung around after for a while, and he took a picture with the ball kids there that seemed genuine. And so, there's a part of me that's saying, okay, is this a guy who's maybe just learned from a bad mistake and is maybe going to do things a bit differently this time around? I fully acknowledge that, to your point, he might have not been in a place of saying, oh, you know what? It's Toronto or nothing for me. It might have just been a situation where the Clippers said, hey, we're not giving you the extension because we're looking to go in a different direction. Okay, what are the teams that are willing to offer the extension? And based on the reporting, it was Toronto, Minnesota, and Detroit. And it's like, okay, maybe he liked Toronto just more than those other two places.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So
place he knows.
Yeah. So I do think as sort of the jilted ex, you have every right to say, okay, you know what? If we're going to do this again, things are going to be a bit more on my terms now. And we're going to have to see a different level of commitment, all of that. Right. And if he comes on board, if and when he comes on board, right, that includes being a leader in the locker room. Like that 2019 season, he was talking to Jeremy Castleberry and maybe once in a while, Serge Ibaka. And that was it. Came in,
North
did his
Powell,
work,
San
and was
Diego
out of
boys.
there. Dude, he wouldn't even dap him up in the finals. So I think that has to change because he's one of the few veterans on this team now, and pretty much the only guy on the roster that knows what it is to win a championship. So all of that has to be different, and you have to be able to hold him accountable at a higher level. So I think all of those things can be true.
Yeah, like I think it's fair to go into it with a little bit of tentativeness if you're a fan. Like I wouldn't, necessarily throw the warm embrace around Kawhi day one if you're worried about the sort of the trustworthiness and all of that. Like sure, but I think like ultimately these are not real crimes. These are the things that you kind of just have to accept are part of the deal with the top 1%, as you said. And I think this is very much worth remembering, and it only gets more true as NBA players make more and more money. Like NBA players are a lot closer to the billionaire class than they are to you, man. And I know you'd like to not think that, but it's true. And so like we're all making concessions. We all draw the lines of where we're going to go with our support and not. And if you think this is a bridge too far, I can't credit. You're probably a better person than I, right? Like I get it. I just don't know if what Kawhi's done to me has veered into, huge personal failing, morally corrupt, can't trust him territory. That seems like a little bit dramatic and a little excessive considering the nature of the things we're talking about here, which are ultimately crimes against sports, which just don't really hold up to the real world level stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly like I wish I were more excited about the trade right now. Like it's like there's a lot of just like wait and see. That's not the most fun thing in the world, but I guess we'll wait and see a little bit longer and see where this goes. And I'm sure once the trade finally goes through, I'll be jumping for joy and yeehaw my way to watch the games and be excited to watch Kawhi play for the Raptors. We're gonna leave it there. Big V, anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
Usual stuff. Raptors in 7. I'm gonna keep hammering away at this Kawhi saga, and go from there. I will take a bit of a victory lap. The last thing I wrote got aggregated, and the only people that seemed to get mad about it were Clippers fans because of me saying that this is gonna come down to what Steve Ballmer will sort of accept as punishment. And guess what? ESPN wrote the same thing in their latest piece. So. Yeah, I think Joe and I are working extremely hard there and doing whatever we can to give Raptors fans some of the best written content out there. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't. I think this is going to be an awesome season once we get this trade out the way. And you should all be on there.
Hell yeah. Everyone go subscribe. It's great. It's good. It's just two of the best in the biz doing the stuff every day over there. So check it all out. For me, you can find the show wherever you get your podcast. Follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, all that good stuff. Join our Discord server, link in the description of the podcast. Definitely not driving everyone insane, this Kawhi thing over the last month and a half. Everyone's brains are perfectly functioning. It's awesome. It's really get mailbag questions asked and answered in there as well. Tomorrow on the show, Danny Cunningham, Locked On Cavs, stopping by. We're going to check in with the Cavs. We're going to start checking in with some of the other teams in the Eastern Conference as we look ahead to the season via our Locked On counterparts. So that should be fun. We love Danny. And then Wolfon will be along on Thursday to do some fun stuff and talk about the actual hoop we figure we'll see once Kawhi eventually joins the team. Knock on wood. That'll do it. Thanks so much for rocking with the show. Follow and do all the stuff. And I lost my basketball. So we are shooting Slider today, the Cleveland Guardians mascot. I kind of want to miss because I want the Guardians to not beat the Blue Jays in the wild card race. But here we go. Oh, too bad. All right. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.